When Diana Butler Bass began the process of writing her book, Grateful, the subversive practice of giving thanks, she wasn't feeling very grateful. She was in a season where she was facing deep disappointment. And she explains, every day I faced the daunting task about writing about gratitude when I felt I had none. I remembered how optimistic I had imagined this book in the months before. I vowed to keep a journal, to practice doing yoga, and to write gratitude notes and thank you notes every day. Instead, I found myself rereading the book of Job, the Bible's grimmest account of anger and loss. I had not quite sunk to Job's level of suffering, but I could relate. On my desk sat the project, that book on gratitude. I did not want to think about gratefulness, but I had to. I knew I could never write well unless I found my way to thanks. So I did the only thing I could think of doing, saying simple thanks as I went about my day. I woke up with a brief prayer. Thank you that I am alive. I got coffee and breakfast. Thank you for this food, this day. I noticed how I was feeling. Thank you that my fever isn't 103 today. Even when it comes to thankfulness, sometimes you have to take what you can get. I took nothing for granted. I practiced 100 days of gratitude. Over the weeks, over the months, I discovered something quite unexpected. Gratitude, like interest, compounds. My husband observed, you know, gratitude saved your life in the midst of all the chaos. He was right. Gratitude became both my refuge and my rallying cry. It made a huge difference. Today is our final week of our 4-part sermon series based off of Diana Butler Bass's book. And in this series, we have established that gratitude is not an obligation, a duty, or a transaction. It is a recognition and a response to the gifts all around us. Bass explains that in the biblical worldview, God gives all gifts, and we human beings accept them and pass them on to one another. We never owned them to begin with. We are only mediators and stewards, not benefactors in our own right. We have learned that gratitude is both personal and public, and it involves feelings and actions. And most of us are better at one of 4 areas of gratitude. For those of us who emphasize me and emotions, we have strong feelings when someone helps us or when we receive a gift. Others of us are better at the personal practice of gratitude, where returning dinner invitations and writing thank you notes and repaying personal obligations comes naturally. Some of us emphasize the communal emotions of gratitude, and gratitude might well up in our hearts as we're expressing and experiencing appreciation, and singing the national anthem or celebrating the victory of a sports team or worshiping in church might really resonate with us. And yet others of us are better at the communal practice of gratitude. So things like charity and volunteerism. We see gratitude as an essential foundation of civic life, in taking pride in doing good. And so you may be able to identify which of the 4 areas of gratitude you excel in, or at least the one that you think you're doing better at than the others, which ones comes the most naturally, or even which ones would have been most valued in your family of origin. And the hope is that all 4 areas of gratitude can be strengthened so that we can have a very robust view of gratitude. And we're going to end our series by talking about 4 specific practices of gratitude. And these practices, of course, come from Bass's book, but Bass learned some of these practices from Mary Jo Leddy, a Canadian writer, speaker, and theologian, and author of the book Radical Gratitude. So our first practice is to look for good examples of grateful people in your life and from history, and to learn from them. And if you were to pause for a moment and just think, whose name would come to mind first when you think of the most grateful person that you know? For me, the first person to come to mind is a woman named Maggie, who is just a beloved pastoral mentor to me. And Maggie is the type of person whose joy and appreciation is contagious. She loves Christmas. It is such a joyful season for her. And when it's her birthday, she has a wide smile, and she is just delighted to add another birthday candle to her cake. When it's her anniversary, she is thrilled to celebrate another year of marriage. Maggie doesn't hide her gratitude, and she has faced tremendous hardship in her life. She has and continues to deal with broken family relationships. Her daily responsibilities require a lot of her energy and strength, and she is keenly aware of the many injustices of this world. And she is a beautiful example to me that gratitude doesn't cancel out the difficult things in our life. But Maggie doesn't let despair have the final word. Who are the grateful people in your life? Who are the grateful people at Highland that you can learn from? Where in the Bible do you see examples of grateful people, and what can you learn from them? The second practice may be one of my favorites, and that is to ask yourself or your family or a team that you're on this question: what felt like a gift today in your life? I love this question. And since I first read about it, I have asked myself and many others this question a number of times. And if you are a part of a team or a group at Highland, this is something that you could incorporate into your meetings and your times together. If we want to expand our practice of gratitude from a personal practice to a communal practice, then asking questions of gratitude in a team setting is a great place to start. And we could expand this question to be even more communal in nature. What feels like a gift right now to our church? I wonder what would happen if we started our annual meetings with this question. And we can even further expand these questions by asking, what feels like a gift in our city right now? Or what feels like a gift in our school right now? Gratitude is contagious. We do not need to slow the spread of gratitude. And questions like this have the ability to spread gratitude far and wide. And this brings us to our next practice. Find a beloved community like Highland Baptist Church and be part of it, really part of it. It will be difficult, and it is difficult, to practice gratitude in isolation. There are always reasons not to be grateful. There may be days when it's really hard to answer the question, what felt like a gift today in your life? When we are part of a community, really part of it, we can surround ourselves with others who can answer that question. And on days when they can't answer that question, we can. And when we are part of a community of Christ followers, really part of it, the Bible is our book, and we remember this. And over the weeks and months and years that we are together, we read and we learn and we worship. And we remember things like the hardship of the Israelites in Egypt and the celebration and gratitude they expressed to God after crossing the Red Sea. We remember the life of David, his mistakes, poor decisions, the enemies he feared, and the beautiful praise and gratitude he articulated in some of the Psalms. Together we can remember the prophet Anna, who spent her life worshiping God. And upon seeing Jesus presented in the temple, her response once again was to praise God. And we remember the Samaritan man healed of leprosy and the gratitude he expressed to Jesus for healing him. And together we remember Paul, who was imprisoned, yet so readily able to praise God and encourage others to do the same. When we are part of a community, really part of it, we have more access to gratitude in the people around us, in our stories, and in our worship. And finally, the fourth practice, and this might be the one that makes us feel the most uncomfortable. And the practice is to get rid of quid pro quo thinking and replace it with pro bono thinking. Quid pro quo literally means something for something. I do this for you, so you must do this for me. The opposite of quid pro quo is pro bono, and it means for good or for the sake of the greater good. Something is given, but nothing is expected in return. And this is an important question to ask ourselves in church. Are we offering this meal, this program, this service, this space, this you fill in the blank, and expecting something in return? Are we expecting money in return? Church attendance, commitment, heartfelt appreciation? Now, money, church attendance, commitment, these aren't bad things. They're good and they're necessary, and they can lead to many fruitful and meaningful things. But if quid pro quo thinking leads the way, then we have some work to do. If quid pro quo thinking replaces doing things for the sake of sharing the love of Christ or doing things for the sake of helping the most vulnerable, then we have some work to do. And so we can offer something, so when we offer something, we need to ask ourselves, what are our expectations? And of course, there are such things as healthy expectations and obligations. But sometimes we also have unspoken expectations where we're offering something, but we're really hoping for something in return. And so we can develop the practice of asking ourselves, does this decision or does this team reflect quid pro quo thinking? That's a really hard word to say, expression to say, by the way. Or is this decision for the greater good? I wonder how adopting these 4 practices, looking for examples of grateful people and learning from them, asking ourselves and our team, what felt like a gift today in your life? Being part of a community, really part of it, and getting rid of quid pro quo thinking. I wonder how that might shape us. I wonder how it would impact us personally and impact our church and our community. Let me remind us again of Bass's words. God gives all gifts, and we human beings accept them and pass them on to one another. We never owned them to begin with. We are only mediators and stewards. Because the source of gifts is the creator in creation, benefits extends beyond any one community or tribe to the whole human race. Every person, no matter how rich or poor, how powerful or powerless, is first of all a receiver of this radical abundance. And for that we say thank you.